Come on, get your cockles. Je voudrais. Yeah, what's that? Les petits manger. Breakfast, is it? Deux billets. 2 tickets, s'il vous plaît. Now, anytime, governor. Come again. Down and out in Paris and London. The podcast. Okay, chapter 20 then. A little bit longer chapter, this one, but we're getting towards the end of the Parisian section. And off we go with chapter 20. Do you know, I do this every time. I've just come back from lunch and I'm about to start going with chapter 20, and then I realised that I've got to plug my phone into the... Sorry to bore you with the technical details, but it's sort of all going into a mixer, and then it all goes into the computer. And anyway, right, let me just plug this in. How unprofessional, good grief. I'd never get a job as a broadcaster. Okay, here we go. Chapter 20.
The patron had engaged me as kitchen plongeur. That is, my job was to wash up, keep the kitchen clean, prepare vegetables, make tea, coffee and sandwiches, do the simpler cooking, and run errands. The terms were, as usual, 500 francs a month and food, but I had no free day and no fixed working hours. At the Hotel X I had seen catering at its best, with unlimited money and good organization. Now at the auberge I learned how things are done in a thoroughly bad restaurant. It is worth describing, for there are hundreds of similar restaurants in Paris, and every visitor feeds in one of them occasionally.
So what you have here then is a bit of self-justification in this section, and we find it throughout Orwell's narrative, where he feels the need to sort of justify why he's telling us certain things. And here he's telling us that it's worth describing how things are done in a bad restaurant. So there's a self-reflectivity and a sort of self-justification that I don't think we got as much in Funder. It's hard to remember now, and he sort of heads in something else. It's quite hard to sort of pull up quotes from Funder. I was sort of so involved with that last time, and then now it seems to have vanished from my head. But hopefully you've got a better record of it on those grids that you've made. But I don't seem to recall as much subjectivity at all in Funder. Never mind any sort of self-justification. Because it was presented in a different way, of course. This is very much one person's travels through Paris and London. With Funder, there was more of an agenda, wasn't there? There was more of a goal. It was more of an expose, really. Whereas this is just a meandering, sauntering travelogue in a way.
I should add, by the way, that the auberge was not the ordinary cheap eating house frequented by students and workmen. We did not provide an adequate meal at less than 25 francs, and we were picturesque and artistic, which sent up our social standing. There were the indecent pictures in the bar, and the Norman decorations, sham beams on the wall, electric lights done up as candlesticks, peasant pottery, even a mounting block at the door, and the patron and the head waiter were Russian officers, and many of the customers titled Russian refugees. In short, we were decidedly chic.
You'll have spotted this already, but the asyndetic list there to re-emphasise, to reinforce the range of tat that they've got on the walls, it would seem. Well, it's described as being chic, isn't it? So not necessarily tack or tat, but it is fake Normandy decor that they've gone for.
Nevertheless, the conditions behind the kitchen door were suitable for a pigsty. For this is what our service
more zoomorphism there, isn't it? Like a pigsty.
Arrangements were like. The kitchen measured 15 feet long by 8 broad, and half this space was taken up by the stoves and tables. All the pots had to be kept on shelves out of reach, and there was only room for one dustbin. This dustbin used to be crammed full by midday, and the floor was normally an inch deep in a compost of trampled food.
What a lovely metaphor there, a compost of trampled food, particularly fitting because, of course, compost is made up of rotting food and rotting vegetation, rotting organic matter. So it's a very fitting metaphor, and it's one drawn from that semantic field of, I suppose, the catering industry or the waste of the catering industry.
For firing, we had nothing but 3 gas stoves without ovens, and all joints had to be sent out to the bakery. There was no larder. Our substitute for one was a half-roofed shed in the yard, with a tree growing in the middle of it. The meat, vegetables, and so forth lay there on the bare earth, raided by rats and cats. There was no hot water laid on. Water for washing up had to be heated in pans, and as there was no room for these on the stoves when meals were cooking, most of the plates had to be washed in cold water. This, with soft soap and the hard Paris water, meant scraping the grease off with bits of newspaper. We were so short of saucepans that I had to wash each one as soon as it was done with, instead of leaving them till the evening. This alone wasted probably an hour a day. Owing to some scamping of expense in the installation, the electric light usually fused at 8 in the evening. The patron would only allow us 3 candles in the kitchen, and the cook said 3 were unlucky, so we had only 2. Our coffee grinder was borrowed from a bistro nearby, and our dustbin and brooms from the concierge. After the first week, a quantity of linen did not come back from the wash, as the bill was not paid. We were in trouble with the Inspector of Labour, who had discovered that the staff included no Frenchmen. He had several private interviews with the patron, who, I believe, was obliged to bribe him. The electric company was still dunning us, and when the duns found that we would buy them off with aperitifs, they came every morning. We were in debt at the grocery, and credit would have been stopped, only the grocer's wife, a mustachioed woman of 60, had taken a fancy to Jules, who was sent every morning to cajole her. Similarly, I had to waste an hour every day haggling over vegetables in the Rue de Commerce to save a few centimes.
More reference there to people's appearance. The mustachioed woman of 60. So again, unflattering, isn't it? And certainly one to add to your list of unflattering descriptions.
These are the results of starting a restaurant on insufficient capital. And in these conditions, the cook and I were expected to serve 30 or 40 meals a day, and would later on be serving 100. From the first day it was too much for us. The cook's working hours were from 8 in the morning till midnight, and mine from 7 in the morning till 12:30 the next morning, 17.5 hours, almost without a break. We never had time to sit down till 5 in the afternoon, and even then there was no seat except the top of the dustbin. Boris, who lived nearby and had not to catch the last metro home, worked from 8 in the morning till 2 the next morning, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Such hours, though not usual, are nothing extraordinary in Paris. Life settled at once into a routine that made the Hotel X seem like a holiday. Every morning at 6 I drove myself out of bed, did not shave, sometimes washed, hurried up to the Place d'Italie, and fought for a place on the metro. By 7 I was in the desolation of the cold, filthy kitchen, with the potato skins and bones and fishtails littered on the floor, and a pile of plates stuck together in their grease, waiting from overnight.
The sort of incrementum of time here, the time markers, every morning at 6 I drove myself out of bed, by 7 I was in the desolation of the cold, filthy kitchen. So these time markers give it that sense of reality, of authenticity. It immerses us again. I know I'm saying the same things over and over again, but that's what these things do. It's just examples of different ways of doing them. And then you've got the polysynthetic list there as well, of the potato skins and bones and fishtails littered on the floor, and a pile of plates. So you've got the coordinating conjunction there to give that a greater sense of the chaos and the mess that he arrives to at 7 o'clock every morning. It sounds pretty hard, and that's the point, isn't it? That it's a hard life and it's an unrewarding life.
I did not start on the plates yet because the water was cold, and I had to fetch milk and make coffee, for the others arrived at 8 and expected to find coffee ready. Also, there were always several copper saucepans to clean. Those copper saucepans are the bane of a plongeur's life. They have to be scoured with sand and bunches of chain, 10 minutes to each one, and then polished on the outside with brasso. Fortunately, the art of making them has been lost, and they are gradually vanishing from French kitchens, though one can still buy them second-hand. When I had begun on the plates, the cook would take me away from the plates to begin skinning onions, and when I had begun on the onions, the patron would arrive and send me out to buy cabbages. When I came back with the cabbages, the patron's wife would tell me to go to some shop half a mile away and buy a pot of rouge. By the time I came back, there would be more vegetables waiting, and the plates were still not done. In this way, our incompetence piled one job on another throughout the day, everything in arrears.
It's a metaphor there drawn from finance, isn't it? If you're in arrears, it means you're behind with the payments, and the payments stack up, and sort of the interest grows and becomes bigger than the original payment, and it just gets worse and worse in a downward cycle. So it's a metaphor, but it's a very apt metaphor because this is a business which also is in arrears. It's sorry, just reminded me of a joke I once wrote for a pantomime about in arrears, in her ears. Anyway, this is a metaphor drawn from the world of the business of the hotel being financially in arrears, struggling financially, and of course the work inside the hotel in the restaurant is similarly stacking up and in sort of in a bad way, really. So it's a metaphor, but it's also a microcosm, I suppose. The kitchen itself acts as a microcosm for the greater business of the hotel. It's like the chaos of the kitchen represents the chaos of the finances of the hotel.
Till 10, things went comparatively easily, though we were working fast, and no one lost his temper. The cook would find time to talk about her artistic nature, and say did I not think Tolstoy was épatant, and sing in a fine soprano voice as she minced beef on the board. But at 10 the waiters began clamouring for their lunch, which they had early, and at 11 the first customers would be arriving. Suddenly everything became hurry and bad temper. There was not the same furious rushing and yelling as at the Hotel X.
Hendiadys there with rushing and yelling. Same effect, isn't it? But the chaos that ensues once the customers come.
But an atmosphere of muddle, petty spite, and exasperation.
That triadic structure there, that list of muddle, petty spite, and exasperation, possibly incrementum, sort of gets stronger towards the end of that triadic structure. Exasperation kind of summarises their feelings. Muddle is one thing, isn't it? And petty spite is something else. But exasperation seems to be more accurate, if anything, of how they all feel. So it sort of gets nearer to the truth by the end of that triadic triumvirate.
Discomfort was at the bottom of it. It was unbearably cramped in the kitchen, and dishes had to be put on the floor, and one had to be thinking constantly about not stepping on them. The cook's vast buttocks banged against me as she moved to and fro. A ceaseless...
So more unflattering description of another character, another person. That what was it? The cook's vast buttocks banged against me. So the plosives are quite nice, aren't they? Particularly evocative, I think. The plosive B of buttocks and banged.
Nagging chorus of orders streamed from her. "You unspeakable idiot! How many times have I told you not to bleed the beetroots? Quick, let me get to the sink. Put those knives away. Get on with the potatoes."
What a voice! Imagine being that man. Imagine having that job, being a voice actor, doing readings for audiobooks. What a dream that would be, wouldn't it? It'd be great. There's lots of imperatives here. Let me get to the sink. Put those knives away. Get on with the potatoes. Leave the potatoes alone. Take that can of water, and off it goes. All these imperative verbs at this point. Now, this is direct speech. It's not Orwell, but it gives us the sense. It gives us the sort of the pace of the kitchen and the chaos, but also the harsh, commanding nature of the kitchen as well, and the authority within the kitchen, from the cook downwards, really. And you've got obviously a list as well, haven't you? The whole thing is an asyndetic list of tasks and orders that the cook gives them. What have I written here? Interrogatives. Oh yeah. So it's imperatives, but sort of punctuated by interrogatives too. With what have you done with my strainer? Didn't I tell you to skim the bouillon? Would you accept that? Bouillon. Let's say bouillon. I look forward to hearing when it comes in a few seconds. So interrogatives mixed in with the imperatives, and I'll let it play a bit longer, and I'll say some more about the other bits towards the end.
"What have you done with my strainer? Oh, leave those potatoes alone. Didn't I tell you to skim the bouillon? Take that can of water off the stove. Never mind the washing up. Chop this celery. No, not like that, you fool, like this. There. Look at you letting those peas boil over. Now get to work and scale those herrings. Look, do you call this plate clean? Wipe it on your apron. Put that salad on the floor.
That interrogative there sort of functions as a rhetorical question as well. It's actually anthropophora as well, because she answers her own question by telling him to wipe it on his apron. So there's lots of features here within her speech showing us how frenetic, I suppose, the pace of life in the kitchen is.
That's right. Put it where I'm bound to step in it. Look out, that pot's boiling over. Get me down that saucepan. No, the other one. Put this on the grill.
This endless tirade of short sentences, simple sentences, imperative sentences, and obviously look at the line dominance as well. This is just uninterrupted. There's no stickomythia here. This is just one long monologue from the cook, which shows again possibly how much authority the cook would have in that particular scenario.
Throw those potatoes away. Don't waste time. Throw them on the floor. Tread them in. Now, throw down some sawdust. This floor is like a skating rink. Look, you fool, that steak's burning. Mon Dieu, why did they send me an idiot for a plongeur? Who are you talking to? Do you realize that my aunt was a Russian countess? Etc., etc., etc. This went on till 3 o'clock without much variation, except that about 11 the cook usually had a crise de nerfs and a flood of tears. From 3 to 5 was a fairly slack time for the waiters, but the cook was still busy, and I was working my fastest, for there was a pile of dirty plates waiting, and it was a race to get them done or partly done before dinner began. The washing up was doubled by the primitive conditions: a cramped draining board, tepid water, sodden cloths, and a sink that got blocked once in an hour. By 5, the cook and I were feeling unsteady on our feet.
So you've got the time marker there by 5. It gives us that chronology of the day, and it is like a day in the life for him at this point, and it's so crucial to giving the reader that immersive sense of what it's like hour by hour. Even then mentioning that at 11 o'clock there would be a bit of a nervous breakdown from the cook, and then at 3 o'clock was where the slack time, 3 till 5, and then we off we go from 5 o'clock. So these time markers all the way through this anecdote gives us that sense of a day, an hour by hour, blow by blow account of what it's like in the kitchens, which is so useful, isn't it, in this travelogue format. It's, well, the memoirs, it gives us that sense of authenticity, which, you know, he's keen to create that. This is meant to be, and it is a real account of what his experiences were like. And if it wasn't that, we wouldn't credit him or give him any credibility for the rest of it. So he has to have that sense of authenticity, otherwise it wouldn't be worth having. We've then got the list of the conditions. The washing up was doubled by the primitive conditions: a cramped draining board, tepid water, sodden cloths, and a sink that got blocked once in an hour. In fact, even that reference there suggesting that there's an hourly occurrence of sink blocking. Oh dear, I've gone completely insane. Blockage. No, blockaging is not a word, is it? Blockage is a word. Good grief. This is scary. I'm actually going completely mad. Sink blocking. Good grief. Once an hour. So there is really an hour by hour account. I do apologise. You must be worrying about me listening to this. Mind you, I'm sure your sanity levels aren't probably the highest either. So perhaps we're all in it together. Let's push on, shall we?
Not having eaten or sat down since 7. We used to collapse, she on the dustbin and I on the floor, drink a bottle of beer and apologise for some of the things we had said in the morning. Tea was what kept us going. We took care to have a pot always stewing and drank pints during the day. At 5:30 the hurry and quarrelling began again, and now worse than before because everyone was tired out. The cook had a crise de nerfs at 6 and another at 9. They came on so regularly that one could have told the time by them. She would flop down on the dustbin, begin weeping hysterically, and cry out that never, no never, had she thought to come to such a life as this.
More time markers there than at 6 o'clock. Another creased in nerve, another nervous breakdown. And then where are we up to now? We're 7? Half past 5, now it's 6. And that's where we're up to, aren't we? Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Her nerves would not stand it. She had studied music at Vienna. She had a bedridden husband to support, etc., etc. At another time, one would have been sorry for her, but tired as we all were, her whimpering voice merely infuriated us. Jules used to stand in the doorway and mimic her weeping. The patron's wife nagged, and Boris and Jules quarrelled all day because Jules shirked his work, and Boris, as head waiter, claimed the larger share of the tips. Only the second day after the restaurant opened, they came to blows in the kitchen over a 2-franc tip, and the cook and I had to separate them. The only person who never forgot his manners was the patron. He kept the same hours as the rest of us, but he had no work to do, for it was his wife who really managed things. His sole job, besides ordering the supplies, was to stand in the bar smoking cigarettes and looking gentlemanly, and he did that to perfection.
Bit of bathos there. A little bit of bathos. Sort of the irony and the sarcasm, I think, in the fact that he did that to perfection, looking gentlemanly and basically doing nothing apart from smoking cigarettes and standing at the bar. He did that to perfection. So there's superlative, but it's a sarcastic superlative. And a little bit of Deixis there as well. Not to miss that. The word that. He did that to perfection. So, I think by understating it, it actually emphasises the looking gentlemanly, the sort of the laziness essentially of what it is he's doing, but it's sort of being euphemised as looking gentlemanly. But actually, of course, it's he's doing very, very little. His wife's doing the real managing.
The cook and I generally found time to eat our dinner between 10 and 11 o'clock. At midnight, the cook would steal a packet of food for her husband, stow it under her clothes, and make off, whimpering that these hours would kill her, and she would give notice in the morning. Jules also left at midnight, usually after a dispute with Boris, who had to look after the bar till 2. Between 12 and past, I did what I could to finish the washing up. There was no time to attempt doing the work properly, and I used simply to rub the grease off the plates with table napkins. As for the dirt on the floor, I let it lie, or swept the worst of it out of sight under the stoves. At 12:30, I would put on my coat and hurry out. The patron, bland as ever, would stop me as I went down the alleyway past the bar. "Mais, monsieur, how tired you look. Please do me the favour of accepting this glass of brandy." He would hand me the glass of brandy as courteously as though I had been a Russian duke instead of a plongeur. He treated all of us like this. It was our compensation for working 17 hours a day. As a rule, the last metro was almost empty. A great advantage, for one could sit down and sleep for a quarter of an hour. Generally, I was in bed by 1:30. Sometimes I missed the train and had to sleep on the floor of the restaurant, but it hardly mattered, for I could have slept on cobblestones at that time.
Sorry about that, got carried away with the music. Just wait for this to pipe down a bit. I can't speak over this. Can't compete with this. That lovely accordion music. There we go. So what you have there then, of course, is the time markers that take us through literally a day in the life, a day and night in the life of him and the other workers at the Hotel Auberge. Is it Auberge? Yeah, it was. So that's a useful one if you're looking for examples of chronology, if I can speak, and the use of time markers. So that's that one. And then back again for chapter 21. Only a couple more chapters. 3 chapters left, I think, left in Paris, and then we're off to London. Right. See you next time.